Hello, everybody, and welcome to the end of our Tuesday night lecture, so the 325 lecture. I will post a separate video for the next lecture here in a little while. And just watch all this before we meet next Tuesday, and we'll be good to go. So, we left off at Thomas Jefferson becoming president, the peaceful transfer of power. And when Thomas Jefferson became president, he envisioned what they would call an empire of liberty. And this comes from his Enlightenment thinking, his belief in the French Revolution, all that sort of ideas. And he wanted to reduce federal taxes. He wanted to reduce military spending. He wanted a limited government. And he envisioned independent landowners, small yeoman farmers across America. Now, what is crazy, and I'm obviously here with all my buddies here in the Constitutional Hall, and yes, I am rocking a Stone Cold Steve Austin t-shirt because that's what they did back then. But with like a lot of presidents, he has this plan of limited government, reducing the military, and all this stuff, and he's going to actually do the opposite. So first of all, it's not on the outline here, but we have the first Barbary Pirate War, and this is over in the Mediterranean, off the coast of Libya and Morocco. And what was happening is that these pirates, I mean, quite literally pirates, they were harassing American ships that were delivering goods to the Mediterranean region. And in order to combat this, this is where we actually get the formation of the Marine Corps, essentially. And they are used to fight these pirates. If you know the song from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, that's talking about fighting these pirates. This is expanding the military, not shrinking it as Jefferson had wanted to do. Then, on top of that, he has the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. So France has all this land, debatable of whether or not all of it is theirs or some of it is Spain's, especially if you look at the area like Oklahoma and parts of Louisiana. But the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, there's nothing in the Constitution that says the president can do this. And this would actually be a tremendous show of federal power to do this purchase. And Jefferson has kind of got his back to the wall here because it's going to be such a great deal. France is only asking for $15 million, and it's essentially going to double the size of the United States. And I'm talking about we're adding Montana, Wyoming, parts of Colorado, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, South Dakota, part of North Dakota, part of Louisiana. I mean, we're adding a huge, huge chunk of territory during this period. So, at a price of $15 million, it's a deal too good to pass up. Now, that 15 million equates to about $350 million today. Think about that. That is like nothing. I mean, we basically get the Louisiana Purchase for what like an F1 team spends or something like that. I mean, it's nothing, for a baseball player contract. It's ridiculous, but we do it. And Jefferson has now kind of gone against his whole platform of limited government by making these massive purchases. Now, of course, once we do the Louisiana Purchase, we have the Lewis and Clark expedition. And the whole point of that expedition was to chart the land that had been purchased and see if there was a good overland route to get to the Pacific Ocean. And eventually, later on in history, we'll have the formation of the Transcontinental Railway in the 1860s and 70s. But there's a big question that comes along with this. We've just added all this territory. Will slavery exist in those new territories? So, this is something that's going to we're going to talk about a lot in upcoming lectures. It's not about the existence of slavery that brings about the Civil War. It's about the expansion of slavery. Will it expand outside of where it already exists? That is the catalyst for the Civil War. Well, to sort of wrap up this, we have the War of 1812. And again, this is brought on by British impressment of American sailors, and also that the Brits were funding, or not funding, but supplying Native Americans in the West with munitions to fight uh, against the United States. And so you had in Congress certain war hawks, Henry Clay, who will become, Henry Clay is one of those great compromisers of Congress, who once he dies in the 1850s, that's really when the slavery question becomes really, really problematic and will help lead us to the Civil War. But the War of 1812, it happens, and the United States and Great Britain go to war. On the way there, we have the Embargo Act of 1807, which tried to boycott British goods. But the problem was that when we boycotted the British goods, they boycotted our goods. Think about tariffs these days. And this meant that the economy in the United States sort of went down really drastically. And so it's not working out very well here in the States with that embargo. At the Battle of Tippecanoe, this is William Henry Harrison. When he runs for president, it'll be Tippecanoe and Tyler too, which was his running mate. Of course, William Henry Harrison is the guy that's dies, very quickly after becoming in office. This battle with Tecumseh's Western Confederacy, who is being supplied by the Brits, leads us to the War of 1812. And I just noticed I'm very red. That's because I ate lunch outside and it's the first big sun of the year. So there we go. Now, despite early setbacks, the Brits, they're fighting a war abroad. They've got their own issues back home. America starts to win these battles, and ultimately the war ends. And then a couple weeks after the war, we have the Battle of New Orleans, which is forever memorialized in a song called the Battle of New Orleans. And this is where Andrew Jackson becomes a hero. This battle actually takes place after the war had ended, but news traveled so slowly that the battle still took place. The war is ending. The Treaty of Ghent ended the War of 1812. It basically just restored pre-war boundaries. It said that the Brits would stop giving Native Americans weapons. They would remove any forts that were still in the western part of this territory that was claimed in the Louisiana Purchase. And this leads us to what is known as the Hartford Convention. And this is where the Federalists discuss the idea of secession because they don't like the idea of what's going on in the South. The Federalists are much more of a Northern party. And when these discussions reach the public, the Federalist Party starts to collapse. And this is when we get the ushering in of the late 18 teens and the 1820s of the era of good feelings, when the Democratic Republicans will basically have their run of the show. America will basically have one party that is moving forward, and everybody will kind of have similar ideas, although there will be still some of those economic differences. The War of 1812 gave us the Star-Spangled Banner. You start to see more and more pride in America. It's around this time that we start having the standardization of the American English, dropping the U's from words and using Z's instead of S's and things like that. You start to see that being standardized. You also start to see there being more American authors and this sort of rise of a pride in the idea of America and not just your state. And it establishes the United States as a stable and sovereign country. So no longer can Europe really look at it as like, oh, they're not going to make it. It's pretty clear the United States is established. Now, we're not meddling in European affairs, but we are established over here in the Western Hemisphere. So the end of this, this is the United States coming of age. This is their little sort of adolescent years, and they're just trying to figure things out. And it works out for the time being. Now we're getting ready to hit a rocky road when we get to, the 1840s and 50s, and we push toward the Civil War. But for right now, we're doing okay. All right, guys, thank you for watching this one. I will upload another lecture here in a minute, in a little bit, and I will let you guys know via email that is posted.